Hello and welcome to the Galactic Court podcast. I'm Andy and I'm your host as each week we discuss the latest TV episodes, films, games and whatever else takes our fancy from the worlds of Star Wars, Marvel, DC and anything else nerdy and geeky in between. If this is the first time you found us, then please feel free to go and give us a follow on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch as well. I game on there a couple of times a week, on YouTube as well. Obviously, you'll be able to get the links to all our social media in the episode description. Like I said, give us a follow. Give the show, obviously, a really good rating as well. That would be massively appreciated. And then also you can keep up to date with all the new episodes as they get released. Today, I'm going to be talking about Secret Invasion Episode 3. And also we're going to be having a little bit of a chat about the Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny film. But the original guest that I had booked on for this episode decided to go AWOL on me. We've been chatting to them for a little bit. And then when it came to obviously getting them on for this week and making sure they were still to do it, they kind of basically ignored me and went AWOL. So I put out a call to my fellow podcasters and asked if anyone would be able to jump in at the last minute and join me for this episode. And one amazing trooper has answered the call. He's been on the show before. And he actually previewed Secret Invasion with me. And he's actually due to come back on in about 3 weeks' time to recap the show as a whole. So we could discuss, what had happened and the predictions that we've made. So obviously, I'm really grateful that he's decided to jump on today and we can discuss the midway point of the show. And it is, of course, Leigh from the Lights, Camera, Rant podcasts.
Happy to be here, man. Happy to jump on real quick. This Secret Invasion, this has been fantastic. So I'm more than happy to be your man at the last hour.
I am super, super grateful to you, buddy. I know that obviously the last episode we did was a mammothly long episode because we covered so much stuff in there, including our ranking and everything like that. But I know it was really well received and I got a lot of good feedback from it. So whilst I'm more than happy to have you back in 3 weeks' time to discuss it, I'm even more grateful that you jumped in at the last minute and saved my bacon, so to speak. And we'll get to bacon later on. We'll get to bacon later on and discuss that disgusting English breakfast that we saw Talos eating in the pub. But that's for a little bit later on. So what we're going to do is first of all, we're going to have a chat about Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny. Are you a big Indiana fan? Do you like the originals? We kind of generally know how everyone feels about the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But are you a big fan of the originals? How are you feeling about Indiana Jones?
I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones. It was one of those, the very first three movies, I still have one of the best memories was my old man sitting me down and go, hey, look, we need to watch these. 1, 2, or 3. Yes, number 2 is mortifying with the whole Kali Ma. Probably not something you should show to your kid at a very young age, but hey, it was still an adventure film. 1, 2, and 3 was fantastic. And, to this day, I still wonder if anyone who went and saw second Indiana Jones realized that was a prequel until people like us told you it was a prequel. And then, Indiana Jones 4 it's not well received. I've only seen it once, and I remember walking out of the theater going, yeah, that was all right. But to me personally, I think Dial of Destiny, you go 1, 2, 3, Dial of Destiny.
I think that's probably not too bad. So did you say that the second film, Temple of Doom, is a prequel?
Yeah.
I did not know that either. And I've watched them all recently in preparation to go and see Dial of Destiny. So I didn't realise it was a prequel. Is that stated obviously in the film, or is that just something that the timeline just sort of says?
No, I think it says in the year. It's like a couple of years before Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because Steven Spielberg and George Lucas didn't want to do Nazis again. So they decided to make it a prequel. But the funny thing is, they still went back to Nazis again in the third one.
Interesting. Well, I'm still learning stuff every day, to be fair. So, what order do you rate the original trilogy in? Do you just go 1, 2, 3, the order they came out in, or to me, Raiders of the Lost Ark is number 1. I'd probably put The Last Crusade at number 2. I wasn't a huge fan of Temple of Doom, to be fair, mainly because that lead woman in it spends the entire film screaming. And I was sat here going, this is so annoying. She just does nothing but scream over dramatically for the entire film. And it was a little bit grating after a while. So I kind of had Temple of Doom and Dial of Destiny maybe almost evens at like 3 and 4. And I think we all know Kingdom of the Crystal Skull goes at the bottom. But where do you rate them in terms of those top 3?
I go number 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Number 2, I would go The Last Crusade, only because it was a little bit more funnier, and Sean Connery and his father, that whole dynamic. But Temple of Doom is still really such a really good adventure film. Like the whole part where the chase scene in the minecarts, like that's awesome. But Dial of Destiny, I would still put as number 4. I would still put it below Temple of Doom, below Last Crusade.
That's fair enough.
Because it's it's the swan song. It's the last hooray of an old hero.
And then moving on to this. I mean, I suppose if we discuss, the last two, so Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, do you think they've been pushing what's the right word to use here? The fantasy element of it, in the fact that, we know from the original films that, they're going after these artifacts that have supernatural abilities almost to them. So the whole thing, gathering from those sort of films, things like, voodoo magic and the fact that, Jesus Christ was real because of the cup, obviously, in the last film of that trilogy and stuff. And then they push it on to aliens from a different dimension and time travel in the latest film. Do you think in these most recent films they're pushing it too far in that element of fantasticness?
See, the time. This is the thing I mentioned in my last episode of my review of it, was the time travel. When I thought about it, I thought myself, was like, it's not that far out of the realm because they've made it so grounded with Archimedes' dial. So then I thought, this isn't too far out of the realm because, like, as you said, they literally found a box which they open that melts people's skulls and ghosts come from. And you're telling me time travel is too far. And then, perfect example, Last Crusade. Jesus Christ was real.
Yeah.
And you've chosen wisely.
What about the interdimensional aliens in Crystal Skull?
That's probably the one that's probably that little bit further. Like, I'd put time travel more realistic than the aliens, but at the same time, I'm like, ancient artifacts, ancient civilizations, it's still not too absurd, but I would still I'd put that as the furthest away.
Fair enough. So looking at Dial of Destiny then, what were your expectations going in? Because as you said, it's the big swan song for Indiana Jones, the last outing for Harrison Ford as his character. What were your expectations of it going in? Just a fun romp, or were you wanting this to sort of eclipse the originals?
It was never going to eclipse the originals. However, I did have probably semi-high expectations walking into this film because this is the last film that John Williams is scoring before he retires. This is being directed by James Mangold, who his last big film was Logan, which was outstanding. And I knew the fact that obviously Harrison Ford and his team wanted to do something a lot better than what was Crystal Skull. But coming out of it, it hit all the points that I was expecting it to be. And it still has a really nice ending. You still got the chills down your spine when you heard the old theme kick in. And the flashback scenes were good. So that was nice, like seeing that going back. Yes, was it Nazis again? Doesn't matter. But Mads Mikkelsen was a great villain. And it was great getting that world travel adventure film again.
Yeah.
And I think they handled the whole idea of time travel very well too.
And we'll get onto that in a little bit. But I mean, one of my favourite bits of this film, to be fair, was this sort of flashback sequence at the start. Because it went on for probably a bit longer than I expected it to as well. It's setting up the whole story, to be fair, with the dial itself and Mads Mikkelsen's character. But I actually really enjoyed this. I thought they did a decent job with, obviously, the de-aging of Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Because, Disney have got that down now because they've done it several times in Marvel. I'm surprised they didn't use it in maybe some of the Star Wars sequel films with Luke and Leia. Obviously, we know that they've used it to do Luke Skywalker in like Book of Boba Fett and Mando and stuff like that.
But I found it was done a lot better in They were a lot better in Book of Boba Fett than it was the
Yeah.
season 2 ending.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously improve it pretty quickly, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this whole opening sequence, and whether it's Nazis again didn't make a difference to me, but I sort of really enjoyed it. Did you like having this sort of flashback thing, or was it a good setup for the film to come?
I think it was both. I think it was a good setup for the film to come, and I think it gave you that little pocket of nostalgia from the original films. I think it was really nice. And another thing that I did mention was the opening scene with Harrison Ford. He wasn't moving like you could tell he was an 80-year-old man. Like if you go watch, I don't know if you've ever seen The Irishman.
No, I haven't actually. No.
With Robert De Niro. Well, that film encapsulates Robert De Niro's character's whole life, but they used the de-aging technique on him, and he plays his character the whole time. And there's a couple of fight scenes in that movie where he's moving a bit slow. That you're like, okay, you can tell that you're not a 20-year-old man in this scene.
Yeah.
But these scenes with Harrison Ford, you couldn't tell a difference.
Because he's definitely not a young man anymore. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what he's like, obviously taking over as General Ross in the Captain America film, isn't it? Because, that was obviously, the actor that played him before that passed away was obviously never involved really in too many fight scenes or anything too sort of, exerting himself because he was a bit older himself. But so it's going to be interesting to see Harrison Ford playing, the new General Ross, rumoured obviously to be Red Hulk as well. In the upcoming film.
It's funny you actually say that because I don't know if this is always a big deflect, but I did see an interview with Anthony Mackie, and the interview's like, "Oh, what about the ripped pants with Harrison Ford?" He's like, "Oh, no joke." He's like, "There was an issue with his baggage, and he was asked for some pants, and I was like, I had some," and he was like, if Harrison Ford asks you for your clothes, you give him your clothes.
Yeah. I think that's a big deflect. I think we're going to get something in there. Although, obviously, there's a rumour that he may pop up in Thunderbolts as well.
Yes. I think that's... Oh, no, it is rumoured. But yeah, Captain America, not to go off, sorry, is shaping up to be with a lot of cameos.
Absolutely.
Like a very semi-Avengers film. Because even... I forgot her name. Betty Ross is coming back.
Yeah. So we're getting Betty Ross. We're getting the leader, obviously the guy from the original Hulk film, that had like the serum sort of leaked into his brain.
Yes, which the Incredible Hulk is now finally on Disney Plus.
Yeah, obviously Sebastian Stan's going to be making a cameo in the film. Obviously returning as Bucky. Obviously the young lad that's going to be playing the new Falcon that was in the TV series. So I think they said that outside of. I might have read this in the last couple of days, but I think they said that outside of Infinity War and Endgame, this is going to be the film that has the most cameos from other MCU characters in it. So, shaping up to be a big one.
It is, and then we got that, which leads straight into Thunderbolt. So next year is shaping up to be such an exciting year because I keep thinking like we're getting Deadpool at the start.
So we're getting that a lot earlier now. So.
And not to mention, just this morning, I know you saw Elektra is meant to appear in it.
I mean, if you're getting Ben Affleck's Daredevil, why not throw in Elektra as well from it? So it's going to be crazy. I don't want it to get to like multiverse of madness level of rumors that were going on because they were starting to get crazy with how many cameos were going to be in that film from different films, but. As long as some of these come through, I think we're going to be happy, aren't we? Because it's going to be a true multiversal film. We already know, obviously, some of the people that are going to be in it, and it's going to have Agent Mobius from Loki, which obviously his character is going to follow him from what we're going to see in Loki series 2.
Yes,
so it's going to be interesting, isn't it? So
I did make a comment to the Why So Serious guys. I'm like, I'm guessing this is what Deadpool 3, what Multiverse of Madness was meant to be.
This is the one they're throwing all the cameos at. So
yeah, but no, to pull back to Indiana Jones.
We always do this. We always get super sidetracked.
Yeah, all the time. But no, like, when you walked out of the theater, how did you feel about it?
I thought it was all right. Like, So I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones film fan. I like the series. I think it's all right. Like I say, it's been a long time since I watched any of them. To be fair, so I watched the 4 films on the run up to knowing that I was going to go and watch this film. And so sat there and I was like, yeah, I enjoyed, like I said, 2 out of the 3 originals. Temple of Doom a little bit less. I sat there and watched when I was watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I was like, it's not the worst film I've ever watched in my life. To be fair, there's definitely a lot worse films that I've sat there and had to go put through, but in terms of like just the general story, yeah, it needed to be a bit better. I know that Shia LaBeouf wasn't particularly happy with his character and how he acted in that film as well. Obviously, and that's
No,
an Easter egg we get in the new film as well, that we find that he got killed off in the Vietnam War.
which that scene is so heartbreaking when he says that story, and I was like, Jesus, like you're the biggest of you've seen so many things in history, all the thing about history, but if you had the ability, all you do is go back to save your son. That's it.
Yeah, he did talk about it, obviously, and brought a lot of emotion to it, which was nice, because obviously it was always going to be a question: is what if his son? If there was no reference to it, where's his son? Why is he not sort of taking over, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad they addressed it and not just glossed over it. But in this film, if you work with Indy, or if you're a friend of Indy, you die.
You're getting shot, you're getting attacked, you're getting kidnapped. Something's going to happen to you.
Yeah, yep. You're either getting shot on your boat, or your work colleagues get shot.
But I do love the line where he's like, I've been shot 9 times, once by your father. I've been stabbed with voodoo magic. I've had to run away from boulders. He's like,
Yeah,
I've had enough. I want to retire.
yeah. I've done all this, which he deserves, and I'm after watching this film, I'm glad we got this. I'm glad we got it, and he can finally say goodbye to the character.
I mean, how did you feel going, see, it was just the typical indie thing where he's just chasing around after the dials going back between him and the bad guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Mads Mikkelsen as an actor. There's not much I've seen of him that I've been disappointed with him or anything like that. But I thought maybe I still think his acting in this particular film was good, but I still think the idea of him as like the bad guy, so to speak, was a little bit weak, perhaps, because essentially he's like, he wasn't even necessarily a bad guy, or he wasn't like over menacing or anything like that. A lot of the work that he did was because he managed to get himself in a good position with like the government and stuff, with the work that he did. And essentially he just had henchmen that just chased after people for him. So as a villain, he's not necessarily like a really, really bad guy, or was particularly villainous himself. He just wanted to get the style because he knew that he could go back in time and change something.
Yeah. Well, I guess the most evil thing he was talking about was when he was on the plane. He's like, I'm going to go back and right the wrongs of the Führer
Of Hitler,
and fix everything. And I was like, oh, that's kind of messed up. But he wasn't like, it wasn't like really like I'm going to take everything. But no, again, he did. Haven't seen him in anything that I've just like. His performance every single time is spot on. Even for his one appearance in Fantastic Beasts.
I've not watched the Fantastic Beasts franchise simply because
You don't need to
put my hands a bit. I'm not a huge Potter fan, to be fair.
You don't need to watch it. They've become the most incoherent movies.
One of my exes was a huge Potter fan, and the way that she used to go about it drove me crazy. So I kind of pushed me away from the franchise rather than getting back into it or watching the movies more than once. So watched the original Potter ones, but I've never seen the Fantastic Beasts ones.
You don't need to, and it's even going to get ramp up even more when they start going on the cast listing and when they start doing for the reboot, which I think is silly. The original films aren't even that old.
Well, this is the TV series they're rebooting it for, isn't it?
Yeah, HBO Max. I think it would have been better if they just did The Cursed Child. They would make more money.
Well, I'll leave that to the Potter fans to decide how good that's going to be. To be fair, because it's not something I'm probably going to watch, even if because I've not watched that much of the originals, and I doubt I'm going to watch this TV series. To be fair, but then in terms of like the supporting character in this, so forgive me because her name escapes me, but the lady who's obviously the other main focal point of this film, his goddaughter,
Helena. It's Helena.
I think so, something like that. Yeah, Helena. What did you think to her part in this film?
I liked her little twist that she was, semi-wanted to finish her father's work, but also the fact that she was also stuck in debt with the mob money and that she's stealing and all that. I did like that she wasn't a true crusader to find her father's work, because I think Indy says the best thing. He says, someone doesn't memorize all their father's work without wanting to finish it. Yeah. And I think one of the best scenes was in the pub where he does say, why are you obsessed with all his work? And she's like, wouldn't you be obsessed with the one thing that your father was obsessed with? And he's like,
I thought that was maybe a good Last Crusade reference there, wasn't it? So.
Yeah. You're like, like, look here.
But then I guess sort of the build up to the finale of this film. So, they're sort of finally got the dial together. They sort of open this time breach or whatever they called it in the film. And they go through to find it was, was it a few thousand years before or something?
Yeah, he had the wrong time.
Well, they mentioned something about the fact that, there was never a jump back to 1939 at all. This was just the only place the dial would ever take them because Archimedes was trying to bring people in to help him or something.
No, wasn't the fact that like because Archimedes didn't account for like starships belong to
the star shifts. Yeah.
Like he didn't take that in, and because he didn't take that in, that's why Mads Mikkelsen's calculations were wrong.
No, you're correct. Yeah, sorry. Like I said, it's been about 9 days since I watched this, and the last 9 days has been busy. So forgetting that bit. But I'm glad. Right. In the end, he obviously they crash. He sort of meets Archimedes, and he gets shot as well. And he decides that he wants to stay in this time period. He's like, I've always dreamt of coming here, being here in this time. We can chat with Archimedes, who did a lot of things, and he seems like this is going to be one of those weird things where Helena might get back to the future, and it's sort of then Indy's been immortalized through history. Is being there with Archimedes who's done different things, and I thought that was going to be a very cliche way to end it. So I'm almost glad in a way that she like knocked him out and took him back to the correct time.
Yeah, I'm glad too. But if he did stay, however, they didn't do the whole ending where he changed anything, and for example, that she went back to the future, and then there was like a note from him, like the whole like Back to the Future 2 thing. There's a note saying, we've held on to this for the last 900 years, and this is for you. I think that would also make sense to him if he stayed back there.
Yeah, I think that's
because he's an archaeologist. It would be perfect. But no, him still coming to the present day. That whole thing with what have I got to live for if I go back, and we get obviously. Marin rocks up.
Yeah. And they live happily ever after. I think what I like about the fact that obviously Archimedes kind of takes Mads Mikkelsen's watch off, doesn't he? And he sort of puts it on. But when they find his grave sort of earlier in the film, he's got this same watch on. So it almost kind of like then presents it of this is exactly how the timeline was supposed to happen. Or the events that they went through is how that was the sacred timeline of Indiana Jones.
It's a canon event. Yeah, exactly right.
He's a Nexus being. There's not another one.
Yeah. No, because it was also on his tombstone, Helena was showing the fact that there was also like blades. There was a dragon with blades, which you did get. And I love the fact that there's still the plane got taken down by just old warships.
Just by firing spears and warships up to them. Yeah. But overall, are you happy with this ending to the indie franchise?
Overall, I'm happy with it. I probably will, once it comes on Disney Plus, go through all of them and do one big binge. But the sad thing is, now that's done, the next thing that will be Indiana Jones, that we are getting the Indiana Jones video game, but I don't know. I don't think there's enough details yet on where that's set and what what kind of premise it is. But it
Hmm.
is coming for any Indiana Jones fans that still want a bit of a niche, bit of a hunger. There is a game coming after this.
Did I? It might be imagining this, but I'm sure I read something about they're planning to do a spin-off, either series or film as well, with like maybe possibly Helena from this, or a female-led sort of Indiana Jones TV series or film. Have you heard about that?
I have, and this is one of the very interesting questions. Is I got this asked in my last episode, right at the end when I was doing um, my review.
Hmm.
Was someone did ask me, "It's like, oh, what about female Indiana Jones?" I was like, "That's just Tomb Raider."
Yeah,
Like, what's
yeah,
the
yeah,
point?
yeah. You're not wrong, to be fair. And they're rebooting that anyway, aren't they? Tomb Raider. So
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's coming out. Oh, I want to say Amazon
I think it is
TV
Amazon. Yeah,
show.
Prime. Yeah.
But no, how do you feel about it? Like, I know you're not a big Indiana Jones fan, but would you, if they rebooted this or a Disney Plus show, or would you be interested in the video game?
Um, Maybe not so much the video game. I think I wouldn't object to watching a female-led film or TV series, um, simply because if it's maybe set in the, I mean, it's one of those weird things that everything nowadays is obviously moving more towards a female-led version of previous franchises, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, it's also like the danger of setting a reboot or a soft reboot, even, or a continuation with brand new characters in the same universe, of potentially tarnishing the legacy of the originals. So
Mm.
it's one of those ones that you don't want it to just be complete trash, because you don't want it to ruin the legacy of what's come before it. But at the same time, if it's something new, something exciting, something that brings a new audience into it, like if it was something that I ended up watching and went, wow, I actually really like this, it's going to lift perhaps my whole appraisal of the entire franchise itself. So it's
Mm.
something that if they did it, I would probably sit down and watch it, and just
Mm.
fingers crossed that it's going to be decent enough to keep attention.
I think so too. And look, it's another thing is it was nice getting an adventure film again.
Mm.
No, not saying I'm not saying I'm feeling superhero fatigue, but like between this and what was it? Uncharted, it felt
Mm.
like it fit that niche of some got to figure out the plans, got to figure out where this MacGuffin is, go around the world style.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I actually quite enjoyed the Uncharted film because I've never played the games, whereas my other half is a big Uncharted fan. So she was
Mm.
really excited to go and see it, and she really liked the film. And I thought, as a outsider going to watch one of those films, it's a nice adventure film. It was obviously painfully obvious that the ending set up a sequel.
Yeah.
In Uncharted. So it was like kind of like one of those ones that you watch the end of it, and I think sometimes that's the danger as an outside fan, is that you don't know what's happening in other games or any of the other sort of things associated with it, and so you don't always get the Easter egg drops and the hints and stuff like that. And then you're like, oh, okay, they're just painfully setting up a sequel at the end. And sometimes you want
Yes.
it to have its own wrapped up ending rather than just to be, we're setting something up again for the
Leading into
future.
the
So
future, yeah.
yeah.
Which was always going to happen. Everyone's trying to bank on a franchise now.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Is that everything has to be a franchise these days. You can't just. It's rare to have one-off films in almost any genre. They're going down the road, isn't it? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
even horror films and stuff like that. Everything has to sort of lead from one to another, and or variations on the one that came before. So
Mm.
it is just the state of the film
Hollywood
stuff
right
at the
now,
moment, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yes, which Hollywood's. I did see something again this morning. Apparently, an actor's strike could also be on the table as well. And I was like, shit.
We've already had enough delays with the writer's strike as it is. So
I know. Which I feel so torn because I'm like, they should be paid the right thing. But I'm like, you're delaying everything.
it's not even that. It's just the way. I mean, I don't even remember the last one that happened back in. It was about 2008 or 2009.
Yeah.
And some things do obviously suffer in terms of then the quality
Yeah.
because they go with other people maybe who aren't part of like I'm going to say the writers' union. I don't know if that's correct or not. To finish the shows off, or if they're protected, or they just have to obviously cut stuff down. And I remember back then one of the big things that got affected was the Heroes TV show.
Yes.
Because it got cut down to 11 episodes and it never recovered in terms of quality after that.
No.
I still think season 1 of Heroes is one of the best seasons of television that's ever been done.
Yeah. That's the thing. Heroes season 1 that had so many audiences hooked. Remember, save the cheerleader, save the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hooked, to be fair. I was absolutely brought into it. In the same way that maybe something like Lost did as well.
Lost suffered.
Going off on a tangent as well, to be fair, but I remember when Lost, like when it was about to come out, and the build up for it to come out was obviously, it was getting quite a lot of sort of airtime and people saying it's going to be amazing. And I remember not being fussed about it at all. I didn't really care. Back then I was a chef, so I used to do like long hours, worked like evenings and weekends. And I remember the one of my chefs at the time was really, really hyped. He really wanted to watch this show. On the day the first episode came out, I ended up being ill and ended up staying at home, and he was the one that came into cover. He ended up never getting to watch that first episode and never got into the show. I got to sit at home ill, watch that first episode, and got really hooked on it.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that sort of fate did it. But it lost another one of those shows that started off brilliant, suffered, and then just the quality went downhill, didn't it? So,
it did. I think I watched the first season, and then things started just getting ridiculous, and I was like, nah, this is like, what was it? It was the cloud. The cloud was T-Rex was making all the noise. there was the random panda on the island, and then
there was the whole
and then there was the whole thing of what was it? Oh, there's 30 people on this island, and there was only there's 31 people on this island, but there's only 30 people on that manifest. Why can some guy?
What's the hatch?
That's right. Why is there a countdown? What's going to happen when I get? Like, it just got so. I was out. And then what was in the end? It was time travel, or they were in purgatory or something.
Oh, they're basically in purgatory because they all died in the actual plane crash.
Yeah,
it's like copped the ending and just went, oh yeah, you're all dead. This is just all you lot passing through purgatory before you whiffed off into the clouds forever, sort of thing. Yeah. That was J.J. Abrams, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was somebody else too. Yeah, I think so.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I think we could do an entire different episode on shows that started off amazing and just went downhill. That would be a long episode.
Ooh, yeah. Have a strong first season, slow second season, great third season, and then,
Yeah, I'm never going to get over Heroes. Didn't mind Heroes Reborn, to be fair. That short series they came back and did it. Wasn't too bad. Better than series 2, 3, and 4 of Heroes, to be fair.
But still, I never watched that. I think after season 1 of Heroes, I dropped off.
Anyway, let's get back to discussing this week's episode of Secret Invasion. So, 2 episodes in before obviously this week's. How you been feeling about the first couple of episodes of this?
I've been loving this show so far. I was hooked on the very first episode, and I think this is one of my first reviews was that. Above all else, with Marvel right now, you cannot deny that for the last 3 years with Disney Plus and Marvel going into Marvel shows, the first season of whatever show it has been utter killer. From going from WandaVision to Moon Knight to this, they have started strong every single year.
There isn't much TV-wise that they haven't really hit the nail on the head with, is there? So,
no, but... They've started strong every year. Do I wish that we got this earlier in the year? Yes. But I was hooked on the first episode. I love how gritty this is. I love how dark it is. I love it's in the vein of Winter Soldier. And and it's a massive whodunit.
Mm.
And I do love the fact it's showing that it has a great premise. Like, Fury failed them. Fury, you
Yeah,
stuffed up. This is
absolutely.
all on you.
Maybe, I mean, does Carol Danvers take any blame for the situation? Because she was one of the ones that promised to help, and then she obviously just jetted off into the rest of the galaxy and hasn't obviously been seen until she popped up in Endgame.
She could get a little bit of the blame, but Fury was the one who made the promise.
Mm. I guess that was at
Fury's been
the
the one
start
who
of
was there
last
the
week.
whole time.
Yeah, that was the flashback scene at the start of, I guess, the last episode, wasn't it? When he was like promising, and obviously Taylor's sticking his neck out and saying, this guy, this is the one that we need to be with. This is the
This is
one
the
that's going to do
man.
it all for us.
Yeah,
So we
and
get.
I do. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Karen,
Keep going.
go for it.
Oh no, I was going to say, I do love that he's kind of also got like PTSD after Blip
Hmm. It has really
or
affected him, isn't it?
PD Blip.
But yeah, obviously, this is the guy that spent his entire life, working out ways to counter specific threats and have things on his side in order to be able to do that and finding ways to get around stuff. And then, I guess the blip made him realize that it doesn't matter what you can do, there's always going to be someone bigger, someone better out there that has the abilities to do things that he just can't stop. And that seems to really have taken his toll on him.
It is, which I'm guessing this is why it's led to them building. What are they called?
New
Rave?
Skrullos?
No,
Oh,
Rave.
you're talking about the
Space Station.
Saber.
Saber, yeah. Which I'm guessing this is why they've built Saber. Which is not out of
Yeah,
the realm of something that could happen now. It's still in that verge of look like so much time's passed, there's so much technology, so them to have a space station for threats makes sense.
hmm. And I think as well, I don't think we're likely to see too much of Saber in this series because obviously we're 3 episodes down now. We only got 3 to go, and the fact that it's been in a lot more of the promotional material for the Marvels film that's coming up in November. So I think that's
Yes.
where we're going to get to see more of it, isn't it? So
Because I heard the other day, I heard on yesterday as well that apparently a new trailer is meant to drop soon for it.
hmm.
Which I guess we'll see more of Saber. I did hear a rumor that maybe Secret Invasion is meant to happen after the Marvels.
I mean, that makes no sense to me because I've heard a few people debate this, and the reasons I give for this are first of all, Nick Fury's been on this space station since the blip happened, since he came back from the blip. He goes to Tony Stark's funeral. He goes up to then the space station. He's been there for a while. We know that from obviously Far From Home, which was set after
Yeah.
Endgame. And in the first trailer we got for the Marvels film, he's back on Earth with Monica Rambeau, finding what happened to Carol
Mulligan.
Danvers and Kamala Khan. So Kamala Khan, we know again her series, we know is set obviously after Endgame as well. So to me, it makes no sense that Secret Invasion would be set after that because he's never returned to Earth. Or it's said that he's been away for the last few years. He's not touched Earth since the blip. So it makes no sense to me that we see him in the trailer on Earth. It makes no sense then to me. And he's back to the old Nick Fury in that trailer as well. He's got his eye patch.
Yes,
He's got his
I was
leather
just
coat
about to
on.
say that. Yeah, he doesn't, because there's a scene in the trailer that we got for Secret Invasion where he's walking out of a room or something and he looks normal. He looks like the normal Nick Fury again.
This is a scene I anticipate is going to be in either the penultimate or the final episode. He's back to badass Nick Fury again. And he's sort of got that faith back in what he's doing and stuff like that. So this is why I'm like, I don't see Secret Invasion being set after the Marvel film. So that was just my thoughts on it anyway.
Am I disappointed the fact that we saw Saber in the trailer for the Marvels instead of the TV show? No, I know what a space station looks like.
I think I'm more disappointed, and I think we talked about this in our preview episode as well, is that we saw Nick Fury in the trailer for the Marvels, so we know he comes out of this series relatively unscathed for the most part.
Yes, it doesn't add that gravitas to the guitar. But then again, I feel like even if we didn't see him in the trailer. I don't see Nick Fury dying. I feel like which I think we spoke about. I feel like we could
Mm.
see Nick Fury dying in Kang Dynasty
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, it's what I chatted with the Why So Sidious guys last week as well, saying, he's definitely not going to die in the series because we'll see him in the Marvels film, and it feels like his journey will probably come to an end. Maybe leading whatever group of Avengers is now the Avengers in Kang Dynasty, and he's going to be the ones that maybe with a few of the older generation Avengers is struck down by Kang to show that he means business. I've got Nick Fury on that list. I've got Hawkeye on that list. With obviously Kate Bishop primed to take over, and maybe a couple of others from the Guardians and stuff like that. So
what Guardians?
well, yeah, just
The
well,
team is
they do
broken
have
up.
their new group. They do have that new group now that's led by Rocket, but maybe some of the ones that have said they're never going to come back, whether they just have a little cameo scene where they're brought in for a big fight against Kang and he instantly kills them. So whether that's Drax and Mantis for example,
and Nebula and Gamora.
Yeah, I think Nebula's still got a part to play. To be fair.
Yeah,
Because I've not Karen Gilligan's one of the ones I've not heard turn around and go, I'm done with Nebula. Whereas people like Zoe Saldana's and Dave Bautista have all been like, I'm done now. So I could see them maybe going, okay, let's have a quick cameo in Kang Dynasty to get killed, and then move on to the others.
Yeah, which I did. Like, probably out of all of them, I understand Zoe Saldana the most because she's still got another 2 Avatar films. So like she's not in the need of work overly, and that's taking so much time because it was something like when she started shot the first Avatar, she was like 25 or 24 or something like that, and she'll be going on to the verge of her 40s when Avatar 4 finally comes out or some shit like that.
Well, it's not like she needs the work either, is it? I mean, she's part of the top 4 highest grossing films of all time.
That's exactly right. She is the highest grossing actress.
Yeah. And you think you've got people like Harrison Ford and Samuel L. Jackson that have, the two of them have been exchanging places for the highest grossing actor of all time for like the last sort of 15, 20 years. And then she's just there, goes in 4 films, and she's like, I'm eclipsing everything.
For half the work.
Yeah. Let's get into this episode then. So, the opening scene, we get sort of Gravik looking out on that machine that obviously seems to be the machine that's altering DNA, and he's
Super Skrulls are coming.
Indeed, first time we've heard the words as well, because we get the Skrull counter that joins him, and he reveals his plan to be able to alter the DNA of Skrulls, and he actually says the word Super Skrull, so we actually got that name drop for the first time. And then obviously we get, to me, what was another good looking AI opening, because I think I said last week that they obviously give hints to what happens in the episode throughout that title sequence. A lot of people have been skipping it, and because they don't either like it or they don't agree with it being done by AI.
See, this is what I find is bullshit. This is what I found. I'm like, it's not that bad. You still there, Andy?
Yeah, sorry, your screen froze on me again. What seems to happen when you pop on?
I know. No, you paused as well. So what I was saying was, I don't understand the bullshit about the AI opening because I liked it. When I first saw it, I thought, okay, that's cool. It's different, and it's so. What's the best way to kind of like look for it? It felt very like 60s, like aliens take over humans, like destroy all humans.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's
kind of like a 1960s War of the Worlds type.
Yeah. Which I loved it. I've watched it every single time.
Yeah, me too. I've enjoyed them, to be fair. So, like I said, it gives little hints to what's coming up in the episode. But we've got that opening, and then we get another flashback scene. So we're flashing back to 1998 now. So I wonder if every episode we can get a little flashback going on year by year. But maybe 1988, and Fury goes into a cafe and meets. Obviously, he doesn't know that it's at first, but he ends up meeting Vara, who we see in the first episode, introducing a young Gravik to Fury, and they seem to have this sort of weird, flirty little exchange going on.
Yeah.
And there was a little Easter egg towards Black Widow as well, with the mention of Dracoff.
Yes.
They passed that sort of envelope over. So, again, nice little feeling and connections here and there towards stuff. And then we sort of moved to the modern day where, Vara and Fury, first of all, answered some questions that we had from the end of the last episode in terms of, did Fury know that his wife's a Skrull? Did he know she was a Skrull? If not, what was going on? But obviously, that's sorted out pretty quickly. Yeah. And we get that reveal as well that, since he sort of came back from the blip, that, he just disappeared, went up to the space station. She wasn't with him. He just sort of left her here. And they have this, again, sort of weird accusational type of conversation where they're sort of being nice to each other because they're a married couple, but they're also having a bit of a go at each other because he's like, have you been chatting to Gravik? What have you been up to? And she's like, I've had to turn into a different person again because you buggered off and left me for years. Although I was just going to point out on the fact that everyone keeps saying Nick disappeared for years. I think it's only been 2 or 3 years since the blip in the MCU, is it not? This is set in 25, 26? And everyone keeps talking like he disappeared for 10 years. And maybe it's because he was away for 5 years in the blip as well. It felt like he's been away longer.
Yeah, because at 5 years he's gone, and then if he disappears for another 2 years, that's, I think she says something as well. She's like, I mourn for you when the blip happened. I didn't know if you were coming back. And then you come back, and then you go again.
And she's pissed off with the fact that he chose to leave that second time rather than being taken away, being dusted. Yes. So,
but it's funny because remember, he hasn't answered the question in the first 3 episodes. Why did you disappear for so long? Why did you stay out there for so long? He hasn't answered that.
I thought maybe he gave a bit of an answer to Talos, did he not? When he basically did say that he basically kind of lost faith. He's never, like you said, fully come out and said it. But it was just basically like, I lost faith in... Oh, maybe it was Maria Hill, when they were chatting in the first episode. And he was just like, I did lose faith in what I could do. I thought he gave a little bit of a hint. But he's never fully come out and gone, hands up, I just couldn't do this anymore. It was too much.
Yeah, not saying, this was my name or own property. I'm having, a Tony Stark epiphany where... we need to protect ourselves. We need a suit of armor around the world.
Yeah. Not giving us that info just yet, is he? So
no.
Makes you wonder if there's some big reveal about why he wanted to go up there. And because obviously we just get this weird bit at the end of Far From Home where it's just like, no, I'm just having a break. I'm in my VR machine and imagining I'm on the beach and I'm just taking a break. And he's like, I always remember that because he comes out of that bit, doesn't he? He's like, where's my shoes? Who took my shoes?
Yeah.
And he seems to be perfectly happy and chilled up there. And then obviously some momentous event to bring him back down to earth. And his wife certainly doesn't seem to be too happy about the fact that he decided to go and hasn't really spoken to her either by the sounds of it.
No. And what we get as well is that he hasn't spoken to Talos either. He hasn't spoken to Maria Hill. He's literally gone up there and not spoken to anyone at all. Oh, no, sorry. I apologize. He's spoken to Talos, obviously, from home, but...
I was going to say,
after that, he didn't anymore.
But so, still some questions to be answered by Fury about what he's been up to and why he disappeared, so... But then we move on in the episode to, Gravik waking up Gaia, and it's obviously clear that he's sort of onto her antics as like a double agent, so to speak.
Yes.
And I always love these kind of bits where, he's questioning it, going, this Brogan couldn't have done what he did because he didn't really know anything about it. And it's interesting that she obviously either tried to talk away out of it by just saying, he was being tortured. He obviously would have given up info or given his best guess.
We said something.
I thought she was maybe going to pin it on the other guy that was in that Beto that was in the car with her at the time when she stepped out to call the police. Yeah. I thought maybe that, but she did the thing that all these people kind of tend to do when she kind of looks at him and she's like, I'm a good liar. And I'm like, well, you're clearly not good enough because he knows.
Yeah, he knows. And you could tell later on when he clearly says on the phone, Neptune, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
setting her up.
You idiot. Yeah. You idiot.
Completely set her up with that one. But
yeah.
then he's like, come on, you're going to drive me somewhere. And he goes off to have his sort of parlay with Talos.
Mm.
I'm confused about sort of, seems to be jumping around countries incredibly quickly in this, because we know that Fury goes to see his wife back in New York. And then we know that New Skrullos is somewhere in like Russia, because they're in
Yeah.
like an
And now they go to
abandoned nuclear
London.
plant. And all of a sudden, like, Gaia just drives into London. Like, did they go to
Yeah.
Brussels? Did they drive from Russia to Brussels and go across on the Eurostar? Like, what the hell? They got to London
Yeah.
very quickly for this meeting.
That's how quickly you can go around the world, right?
Ugh. Yeah, I picked up on this on previous sort of films from the MCU in terms of like sometimes the timing it just does not make sense of how they get to places, like and stuff like
No,
that. Like I
no,
picked
they
up a
haven't
real
got.
big bone with it in Civil War because after the airport fight, obviously Bucky and Cap nick the plane that Iron Man and his team came in on. They
Yeah.
fly off to Siberia to go and obviously
Yeah.
to go there. And during that time that it takes them to fly from Germany to Siberia, Tony Stark manages to get another plane, take the whole team back to America to the Avengers compound, gets Rhodey to hospital, has that chat with Black Widow, then takes a chopper to the raft, has a chat with all the prisoners there and Ross, then gets his plane, gets his Iron Man suit, and gets to Siberia, and gets there just after Bucky and Captain America did. And I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm guessing Bucky and Cap just took the long way around the world.
So, I don't mean to go off on one of that, but for some reason, it's always bugged me that like the timing of that one makes no sense.
No,
but they get from Russia to London in quick time here, and during this scene, I think it's a really good scene because Gravik's intense hatred for humans that he seems to have developed has really sort of shows through, and Talos gets to show. Or gets a show of power from Gravik in terms of how he's managed to have that following behind him, because that moment really grabs Gravik and everyone around him that he thinks is just turns. We saw that sort of clip in the trailer, though, didn't we?
Yeah.
But sort of when it happened, you're still like, oh, it's impactful.
Yeah, that's one of the best things this show is doing is you cannot trust anyone. They are really elevating this in every single episode that you don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea who's a Skrull.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that they're doing so well, and we're obviously going to get a few more twists on the way. But I saw someone that commented on, which is sometimes maybe as viewers as well, we don't always know these things, so it's good to see someone explain it. But the way that the cameras were placed, and the way that they were placed in this scene. So when he first starts off, when they show the shots, they've always got Gravik on the right and Talos on the left, and apparently it's supposed to be a thing that whoever appears on the left is the one that's in control, who's got the power. And then after Talos gets up and grabs Gravik and everyone turns into it, all of a sudden the power vacuum then switches. And after that, Gravik appears on the left and Talos appears on the right.
Oh, shit.
So it's this sort of power switch where Talos thinks he's the one in command. He's the one who's got the power in the situation. And then it's flipped on him. And he's sort of like, damn, what's going on here?
Yeah. I did like the scene where he stabbed his hand and was like, until the day you die, do not say my daughter's name.
And he's just like, you're lucky I haven't put her in a body bag already. So he's like just showing he's not intimidated at all. So, and obviously we get to see the fact that Gravik's basically already been into this machine that alters DNA, because he's already got extremis powers with his hand healing up.
Yes, so he's already started doing it, which is spoiler alert. I think it is a trailer where you can see where he's got a Groot arm.
Yeah, we saw that in the trailer. Yeah,
yeah. Which I think is very interesting that they're harvesting superhero powers.
Do you think then, because they're essentially people that can access almost any secure site on Earth or imitate any person, that we haven't seen the amount of potential superhero DNA that they've actually got? Because we got shown those 4 glimpses in the previous episode. Groot, the Frost Beast, Extremis Soldier, and Obsidian Cole's hand for like superpower strength. Do you think they've got a lot more in the tank then in terms of potential superhero day? Because Gravik said to the council at the start, he's like, we're going to have each person individually tailored to have a power. And so it sounds like they've got a lot more in the bag.
Uh, they potentially could, but like the episode prior was like they were saying that they were harvesting, they were trying to get all the DNA.
Mm.
One of the very interesting thing is that I did hear on another podcast was um, all the powers of the people that they've got. Do you realize that they mimic Fantastic Four?
Fantastic Four, yeah.
I was like, that's clever. I think my prediction is everything that happens in this show, it will not be fully wrapped up. We will still be seeing Super Scrolls moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout, because I don't think they're going to resolve what happens to 1 million Scrolls in this particular series.
Nah.
And we know there's more out there in the universe somewhere anyway, or in the galaxy, with Emperor Droge, or whatever his name was, that was name dropped in the previous episode, is having his own colony somewhere.
Yeah.
And obviously they've got to resolve the war with the Kree as well. I think I mentioned last week that I anticipate maybe this being the plot for Captain Marvel 3, in terms of they've got to resolve her story with the Kree, because that was maybe sort of, they're going to come back for her at some point, I think. And then maybe, whatever Skrulls are left on Earth after this whole situation, that the Kree then come to Earth looking for a fight with the Skrulls and to finish the job off. And whatever Skrulls are left in Captain Marvel have to band together to stop them. And that's how maybe the Skrull story gets resolved.
The Marvels.
Yeah. But then, so there is an interesting bit on here in this particular scene again, where when they're chatting, that Taylor says that, the humans would know the difference between what Gravik's sort of group are trying to do and what Taylor's sort of more passive group are like. So he's like, because Gravik just wants to wipe them all out. He doesn't care for them. He doesn't want to live on the same planet as humans. Whereas Taylor says, like, I will tell all of them what you're doing. He's like, you'll get red flagged everywhere. You won't be able to hide anymore. And the humans will know the difference between your radical group and what the rest of us are trying to do. Now, humans aren't, as Nick Fury said in previous episodes, humans aren't exactly known for being the most tolerant group altogether. Could you really see humans really giving a shit between the two different types of Skrulls in terms of the radicals and the pacifists? Or do you think they just go, I don't give a fuck, you're shape-shifting Skrulls, get out or we're going to kill all of you?
I think yes and no. I think yes, in the sense, like, humans might be like, yeah, now get rid of all of you. In the no, because I feel like these humans in this camera have seen enough. They'd be like, okay, good shape-shifting beings. Yeah, that's just another Tuesday.
I mean,
because you go over I was gonna say, because you're like Endgame, the multiple beams in the sky, aliens from a portal, a giant head in the sea that hasn't been resolved. Weird time travel with the Moon Knight thing. So I feel like these humans would probably be a little bit more accepting.
Maybe. At the same point, maybe they're like, we've had enough of all this bullshit with aliens. Get out of the planet. But I was sat there thinking, even if Skrulls with the shapeshift abilities and becoming super Skrulls, is Gravik's plan flawed? Because realistically, could 1 million Skrulls really beat 9 billion humans and take over the Earth?
Well, if they set off the bombs, if they set off all the nuclear bombs in the world and rebuild, that's one way to do it. But then again, a whole army of 1 million Skrulls that has powers, it's one of those things that, like, which I'm showing my age, like in the Justice League. What happens if the Justice League wanted to take over the world? That humans would have no option.
I mean, I guess I was trying to work out, what they would use of sort of Cull Obsidian's power from getting from this chopped off hand. And at first I was thinking maybe sort of like super strength, but Skrulls are pretty damn naturally strong anyway. Yeah. So I was guessing maybe his resilience, because obviously he got hit by quite a few sort of like of Stark's beams and stuff like that in Infinity War, and he's pretty resilient, just gets knocked over and gets back up again. So maybe it's more the resilience, because the Skrulls seem to be killed just as easily as humans can. We see several of them just shot with one bullet and they're dead. So maybe it's more they're using his powers for his resilience and ability to take a bit more of a pounding, so to speak.
That's very true. I didn't really think of it until you just mentioned it, but so the scientist really found as a severed hand that's been sitting in some lab for probably about 7 years or 8 years of this severed hand.
And just went, hey, let's party with this.
Yeah, woo! But you're right. From them, I could see the super strength, the resilience, because you're right. You could mow all the scrolls down with a machine gun.
But I guess if you're giving them extremist powers as well, then they have the ability to heal from that. So it's just, I guess, the combination of everything maybe might make them, incredibly hard to kill.
Well, but that's the thing. Remember with the extremists that their ability was unstable. They were exploding. So is the whole point going to be the fact that because he's putting the extreme powers in these super scrolls, that they're just going to pop off?
But Tony Stark did say at the end of Iron Man 3 that he found a way to stabilize the formula. Because obviously he did it for Pepper, didn't he?
He did for Pepper.
So maybe they then sort of did it for other soldiers that were given the extremis remedy. Because we do obviously see one as well in Shang-Chi, don't we, fighting in that sort of those pit fights.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
he's fighting a Black Widow assassin. To be fair, so maybe they did it for all of them, where they can't cure it, but they stabilized it. Although he seems to have cured it with Pepper, she doesn't seem to have any of the extremis sort of stuff in her anymore. But maybe they just were able to stabilize it for the others, or maybe it stabilized for some of them and it didn't for others. I think was the main point of the film, wasn't it? So, and they just. Who knows? To be fair, a lot of times past since Iron Man 3, and what they've been able to do with maybe the extremis formula.
Yeah, I think some time has passed.
Just a little bit. I can't even remember when it came out. 2012, Iron Man 3?
No. 2012 was Avengers. Oh, actually...
It was straight after that, wasn't it? So
yeah, so it could have been 2013, maybe?
Still, it's been about a decade. Or even longer in the MCU, technically. So
yes, because they're 5 years in advance.
So it's maybe about 15 years since Iron Man 3 happened in the MCU.
What year do you think it came out?
I was going to say either 2012 or 2013.
2013. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just trying to work out in my head then sort of where that happened in the MCU. So I'm sure they said like the Avengers film happened in 2011 in the MCU years. And so
probably so something like that. Yeah.
So for about 25, 26.
Yeah, because I think I did see something the other day that apparently they finally fixed Spider-Man Homecoming's date.
Oh yeah,
they finally fixed that. I'm like, how did they get that wrong?
I know. It's just because I think they literally just went, well, when was that film? When did that film come out? And they just did it from that, didn't they? Because it was done by the years the film had come out, not the MCU years. So
yeah, it was. And it was still it was wrong for both. It was wrong for in the MC universe, and it was wrong in human.
Yeah. I don't know how they cocked that up, to be fair, but at least they corrected it now. So fair play.
Yeah. But no, it's going to be very interesting with these powers on how many scrolls will get this ability. And as we can see that Gravik has already had some powers to it. And one of the things I do like about Gravik is when he was explained to what he wants to do, which sounds terrible, but when you listen to it, I found it very, very similar to like Thanos, because you're like, I'm not arguing the point. Like, you have every right to be pissed.
He just believes in his point, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yes, could you just maybe go to a different planet? Probably the extreme part is that you want to take over Earth, but you have every right to be pissed at Fury and the human race.
Absolutely, but yeah, surely just going, look, we because they had a ship, obviously the ship was in orbit and cloaked for years. Surely they could just go, well, we're going to go off on our own. Give us a bunch of supplies, let us go on our own, and we can find a planet where we haven't got to kill 9 billion people and cause a nuclear war to take it over.
Yeah, but see, that's not good writing.
Well, maybe, but I've been told I think too sensibly about these things. So
yeah. But you're right, though. And the terrible thing is that, as we've seen in the Guardians of the Galaxy, there are thousands of planets that can have life on them.
They can even go to nowhere.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's just a thing that everyone's going to call out maybe Gravik's motives or the way he's going about it because it's very extreme. But he seems to obviously maybe that's just been indoctrinated into him that he just has this hatred of humans from for the last 30 years. So it's just, I think it fits in good with his character, but obviously it's not the best way to do things. The boy needs some counselling for sure.
No, and it's the same thing with Thanos. Thanos, which it could be a bit too far.
Just a little bit too far, just half the universe, and then shred it down to its last atom. But fair enough.
Yeah.
So we jump back into the episode then, and we see Talos in an English pub, eating a horrible-looking English breakfast. They did not do a good job of representing that at all. Like, I've never seen somebody just shove half a grilled tomato in their mouth before. Nobody in England eats the tomato, I swear to God. Like, who does that? It's just
I don't know anyone who eats a tomato here. I'm like, yep, egg, toast, bacon, done.
Even the bacon looked horrible, to be fair. It looked nastily overcooked. So, as a former chef, I do not approve of how this plate of food looked.
Hi, this is my review of food on screen. This looks shit.
There's a new sub-series I can start. It's like, does the food on screen look actually any good?
You'll be very surprised about the results.
Indeed, yeah. And now I'm going to recreate it for you.
Right.
But no, then we get another conversation between sort of Talos and Fury. Again, it's a sort of weird, passive-aggressive turned friendly conversation in a way, because they seem to have a go at each other and then they get friendly. And obviously, Fury's essentially asking for his help without asking for his help. And Talos is like, how about you just ask me for my help? And I was really hoping for a little, Star Wars moment here almost, where he sort of when he's like, Talos, I need your help. You might gave him,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I wanted to go, help me, Talos, you're my only hope. There's a nice little sort of Easter egg there, but no, we didn't get that. And they go off on this car journey, and they have a quick call with Sonia Fallsworth, who I found out the other day. She is the grandkid of one of the guys from the first Captain America film. What were they called? The group that were together.
The group that were
together. The soldiers that he frees, and they're then with him is the group throughout the film.
Yeah, like Dum Dum Dugan.
That group.
Yeah.
Like the very British guy that's part of that group with the mustache. Apparently, that's her granddad. And the same way that the principal in the Spider-Man film, the principal of the school, his granddad was also the American Asian guy from that group as well. I don't know why their name's escaping me of what the group was called, but the Howling Commandos. That's it.
That's it, the Howling Commandos. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, the same way that the principal in No Way Home, his granddad was the Asian American guy from that group. Apparently, Sonia Fallsworth granddad was the British guy from the Howling Commandos. So nice little Easter egg again, so it's all sort of connected through. She's doing this whole thing where she's like, I can't really help you guys out because I've got my own sort of breach of security. I like it when she was just like, somebody gave away the location to butcher shop whilst I was doing my best work, just chopping fingers off and injecting people with serum.
That was so brutal, which I love that scene, which I did see someone post the other day. That was, this should give you faith for Daredevil.
Yeah.
I'm like,
a bit more violence, a bit more R-rated. I mean, we know we're going to get Deadpool rated R anyway. No, but we'd always hung out that sort of hope that Daredevil was going to be the same.
Yeah, but it won't go that far. But she chopped off his finger. She injected his ass with the extremists. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, she doesn't mess around, and she seems to like doing it. So
no, and I did love what she did with the owl.
Yeah. She's like, no, it's called Nicholas Fury, and he's got a cute little eye patch on him.
Yeah. He's like, don't tell me that thing is called a hoot.
Oh yeah, it was good, fun. Like I said, I've really enjoyed her in this series. Every sort of scene she's in, she's stolen it. To be fair, and she seems to be having fun doing it. So
apparently she's been trying to get into the MCU for ages. It was just trying to find the right role. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad she's doing it because I've spoken on some of the previous episodes that, I've grown up watching her as a British actress and seen her in lots of different things and lots of variety shows. To see her, Peep Show, great. I think I mentioned it to Michael from Star Wars in the first episode of the series, and said if you want to see more of her, go and watch her in that. She does a good job in that.
It's such a funny show.
And then she's basically exploded into Hollywood over the last 5 to 10 years. So
yeah, because isn't she in another TV show with oh my god, David Tennant?
Quite possibly, she's been in a lot of things. To be fair.
Yeah.
We get back to this episode. She gives them the info about, obviously, there's the submarine commander guy that, and Fury's like, Bob, oh cool, okay, let's go see Bob, and we're going to go see him in Portsmouth. And okay, admittedly, it's not like I've scoured every inch of Portsmouth, but that sort of nice house setting and road that they pull up in, that is not the Portsmouth I know. It's for, forgive me, anyone that's from Portsmouth or in the UK that listens to this, but from what I know of Portsmouth is a shithole. That was obviously a nice place in Portsmouth with a nice house.
Yeah.
But they do have this sort of again, this passive aggressive friendly conversation in the car, and I think what's really the big point that comes out of this conversation is that it's finally confirmed that Fury using the Skrull agents over the last however many years is what got him up the ladder to be in control of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first place.
Yeah, that's how he had eyes and ears everywhere. That's how he knew everything, which I thought was great. And I did love Talos' thing is like, I just want you to say thank you to the guy that helped you write history.
Yeah, don't rewrite history and say that it was all you, but at least acknowledge the fact that I helped you be here.
Yeah.
And great, I mean, because these guys, Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel L. Jackson, have got great chemistry, I think, together on screen. I mean, I think I was a little bit unsure of how how Samuel has played some of these scenes, because sometimes he seems a bit too defensive, or played it maybe slightly differently from the cool, slick Nick Fury that we've seen in the films. But, this is obviously a change. Nick Fury's a bit different now, I guess. So,
he's broken. He's beaten. He's got got S.H.I.E.L.D., he hasn't got the Avengers, he's by himself.
But yeah, great chemistry between them. But obviously great to finally get that sort of really good almost retcon in a way, I guess, that the Skrulls were basically what helped to get Nick Fury all the way up that ladder and get him to be the top of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then we get to the bit where I love that bit when he's like, they've just been chatting and they've been stopped for a while, and then Taylor's like, why have you stopped? And he's like, because we're here. Bob, you remember Bob? We're going to stop the submarine. And he's like, oh, fine, okay, why don't you just tell me? Because you were having a rant. So you should get him on as a guest on your show.
Oh, I'd love to.
Absolutely, yeah. And then once we get to this house, they're going to go and obviously get Bob. And it seems a bit weird here that obviously the submarine commander is a Skrull, as obviously we saw. The guards around the house were Skrulls. For some reason, his son wasn't a Skrull. So when he does this whole thing of obviously Fury's grabbed him because he knew that Talos had been compromised because he called him Nick, and then he's threatening to kill the kid if he doesn't help them, and the Skrull submarine commander stops and goes, yep, that's fine, don't kill him, and stops him. And I'm like, why? He's not actually your kid. Why are you bothered about this random kid that you're only taking over his dad to get the submarine stuff done?
Yeah, which makes me think that the Skrull, they're not, the Skrulls that are working for Garrick aren't utterly ruthless. Like some of these people obviously, have made their lives on Earth, and still have a conscience. I did love how just prior to that, when Talos is shapeshift, and he's like, "Sir, I just found you." Oh shit!
Yeah. Yeah, it just struck me weird that why wouldn't have they taken this kid as well and had another Skrull impersonating him to be an extra bodyguard there? It was just a bit random. That was his kid, that it was the real kid, so to speak. So
yeah,
he must have then been shocked when Talos kills him and finds that he turned into a Skrull.
Oh shit, my dad.
But obviously, Talos calls Gaia, and she essentially has to give up her undercover role, I guess it is now, of being, with Gravik's crew and the rebels.
She was actually working with a dad.
And she obviously, manages to work out what the submarine password is to stop the launch. And Talos, obviously, at the end of it, when they're packing the bodies away, and they had that sort of conversation again between Nick and Talos, where he's like, you essentially, from my point of view, you essentially agree with Gravik. So why didn't you ever take up his offer to work with him side by side? And Talos is like, look, I'd rather side with you. I picked you.
I'm with you.
I believed in you. And it was that kind of, I think, moment where it kind of brings back Fury. It starts to bring him back even more, because he's like, okay, these people actually believed in me, and I just used them to get myself ahead.
I just used them, and I didn't, it could be very much that, he didn't want to find them a new home because he would lose that power.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, to be fair. And he's now realizing that these people believed in him because of Talos, and it's caused such a divide that is now threatening the planet. And so this is wholly a Nick Fury mess.
Yeah, 100%. This whole thing is a Nick Fury mess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then we were, I guess, the next scene you're going to go to is a scene that was quite shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Gaia's trying to escape the compound. She gets out past the exit, and she's obviously, the car lights go on, it knocks her sort of stunned off the bike, and it turns out to be Gravik. And this is where Gravik kind of really shows how brutal he is. Because, they sort of have that quick sort of minute or two chat, and he's like, right, turn around. And she's like, nope. And it was going to do that whole thing where she thinks she's going to get to do a big speech that may turn him or spare her life. And then, she's halfway through the conversation, and boom, he just shoots her. Doesn't even say anything to her, just shoots her.
Shoots her, gets in the car.
Do we believe she's truly dead?
No.
Because she turns back into a Skrull, and it looks like she's dead, but we already had the shock death of Maria Hill in episode 1. Are they going to do it here? And also, the other thing that makes me believe that she's not fully dead is that, would this not have been a waste of Emilia Clarke's ability and spending money on her as an actress to get her to do the bit parts that she's done in the 3 episodes, to have her killed randomly halfway through?
No, and this is what I saw. I saw someone's tweet that was like, "Oh, why bring on these characters and then have them killed off?" I'm like, I'm like, man, it's the 3rd episode in a TV show, and we're dealing with shape-shifting beings. Not to mention, no one really dies in the MCU. Like, for example, Maria Hill's death, we know that's legit because she's got such a tenure in the overall show, and obviously the show needed to have a massive weight. Emilia Clarke's character is not dead. I was half expecting in that scene, because that scene paused a really long time above her body. Yeah. So I was full expecting her to come right back up. But I'm sure what I think is maybe, the dude with the hat that joined at the start, he might find her and go, oh, look, shit, this is really radical. This is not what I want to do, and I'll help you. I'm like, you're not dead.
So that rolls into another question then that I sort of put to the guys last week, and I'll put it to you. Do we believe that her mother's actually dead? Soren, because it seems to be the catalyzing moment in episode 1 that makes her start to really doubt the situation and start working with her, with her father and Fury and feeding them information. So it seems to have had an impact on her. But do you think the importance of a character like Soren for this kind of series being Talos' wife and Gaia's mother, that they would really have her sort of killed off screen, so to speak? That I posited that maybe Talos thinks that she's dead, but he wasn't there fully for all of her death. That she was maybe taken by Gravik's people who supposedly killed her anyway, and she's being kept hidden away somewhere, and that's going to be revealed in an episode or 2.
Oh, yeah, maybe I could see that potentially happening, but because she's not a major character, I'm probably about 70% sure that she's dead. To have the gravitas of everything that's happened between why Talos hates Gravik and why Gaia went to Gravik, I feel like it adds a bit of weight. So I'd say probably about 70%. I'm pretty sure she's dead because she wasn't a major character. We only had 2 scenes with her.
That's fair enough. It just felt like maybe a bit of a MacGuffin for Gaia and Talos to think that she's dead, but it was just another manipulation by Gravik into putting a wedge in between them and sort of beating down his opponent a bit more as well.
But see, that's possible. That's why. That's why I only said 70%. Like I'll keep my 40% on the table.
And the only other way I
30%.
think maybe that that Gaia is actually dead is that it's something I've called out for in so many of my episodes. Obviously, the death of more characters in general in the MCU, the fact that too many make it through unscathed, or when they do die, it's a big sacrifice. They're going out as a martyr, so to speak. At the end of the, and I think it's one of my biggest things about Guardians 3 was the fact they all tied up everyone in a nice neat bow. No one got killed off. But then in episode 1 of this, we get Maria Hill killed almost senselessly, and Gravik does it to just fuck with Fury, really, as well as taking out someone that's obviously going to be against him. But she doesn't have a grand big sacrifice. She just gets killed because sometimes in war, the heroes die, senselessly.
Exactly right, and obviously Garrick's also done the proper thing and not let someone draw out with your entire plan, blah blah blah. Nah,
yeah,
straight out. So, look, it
would
be
impactful, would it not be, to actually have her
just
think she's going to come back or play a bigger role, and then boom, she's just dead after episode 3.
Exactly right. Well, look what happened with Talos if he finds out. Like he'll go nuts. He'll kill him. Well, actually, he's going to kill him now, but he's going to kill him even more.
I mean, he's already changed his tune, hasn't he? Because the first 2 episodes, he's telling Fury not to kill Skrulls, that he'll deal with them. And then in this episode, obviously, he starts popping them off.
Yeah.
So he's starting to change his mind more about that, and he's realised that he's not going to get through this without having to spill Skrull blood himself. So, yeah, I think he's going to go all Rambo if he finds out that that his daughter's dead. So,
all Rambo 4.
yeah.
The knife.
And then we get... Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. And then we get to, obviously, the last sort of, I guess, scenes of this episode, where it goes back to Fury's wife, who, Vara, I guess we should call her a proper name, or I can't remember what her human name is in this, to be fair.
Priscilla?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So...
yeah, Priscilla.
So she seems to get a message, and she goes to what a rather posh-looking bank with a rather nice Englishman who seems to be opening the boxes. Opens up a safety deposit box, and we're thinking it's going to be some kind of info, and it's just a freaking gun inside. I mean, how 1980s is this that people keep their guns in a safety deposit box?
I know, which makes me wonder: does that gun have Fury's prints on it? Like, is it a frameable gun?
Yeah, it must have something special about it, whether it's the bullets in it or
bullet.
Yeah, something like that. That is very particular. Otherwise, because if it's just a normal gun, it makes no sense. She should be able to keep one at home. She's an American, technically, after all, and they can keep a gun at home. So that kind of makes no sense. But for the most part,
yeah.
So it obviously makes no sense unless it's a special gun with bullets, or like you said, some particular prints about it. But she's putting her prints all over the gun, so like
that's very true. My big question for you is who was on the phone?
Rhodey.
Yeah,
it's Rhodey's voice, isn't it? I've listened to it a few times. I've seen it on TikTok. It's definitely Rhodey's voice.
I went back to. I was like, it's Rhodey's voice. But here's the thing that this is the thing where I don't think Rhodey is a Skrull, because Rhodey's getting his own movie.
Oh, I mean, I think I've advocated the whole time that I didn't want Rhodey to be a Skrull, and I don't think he should have been, because it was too easy to make him the big MCU character that's been a Skrull for hopefully only a few years, because everyone's saying if he was a Skrull during Endgame when Tony dies, then that fucking completely takes a lot of emotion out of it. So maybe since post Endgame he's potentially been a Skrull, but it's too easy. It was a red herring for me the entire time that Rhodey was the Skrull. But it's it does obviously throw the questions in there, because in his meeting with Fury he calls him Nick. Which is obviously one of their big giveaways that they seem to be putting back into this series, that when he's called Nick, it's not who it should be. And also, like I said, how do you explain this conversation? And she's like, I want to talk to Gravik. And he's like, you're not chatting with him. You're dealing with me now.
Which, again, that could still allure to the fact that he's not a Skrull.
Yeah.
He's been watching Nick Fury's wife the whole time.
But I mean, obviously, we don't know the answers to these questions. We know we're going to get them either next week or the rest of the series. But what connection then does, if Rhodey's not a Skrull, what connection does he have to Gravik, and why is? Because presumably she probably knows who she's talking to, And then, so why is she asking him that she wants to talk to Gravik if he doesn't have a connection with him somehow?
Yeah. That's what we'll find out
Who
in
knows?
next.
Who knows?
Tune in, kids, for the
Yes,
next
it's
episode.
literally what I was going to do. Tune in next week, kids, to see what happens.
What happens next? To find out who's a Skrull. Who is more people Gravik's going to kill? Will he get powers?
But yeah, I really hope he's not a Skrull, because, like I said, it would just piss me off a little bit. It was too easy to make Rhodey the Skrull in this.
Yeah, I don't think he's a Skrull because he's getting his own movie, or he's actually been captured.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. He's actually he's been captured in the past like 2 years or something, or when he came back, he got captured somehow. I did see someone say the other day, I was like, oh, I guess he can walk now. I'm like, yes, he's been able to walk ever since Cap 3. He's got the same devices, I think, from like, what is it, like the Dark Knight Rises? The metal things on his legs. I'm like, of course he can walk.
And I'm sure Tony develops that more over the years for him. So it's just like an implant or something now that allows him to walk properly. And we saw in Infinity War he was able to walk. So yeah, I don't know why people are picking up on that now.
I saw someone rant about like that. I was like, nah.
People find the stupidest things with no knowledge to rant about sometimes, isn't it? So
yes, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
You have some knowledge. You're not talking about these people that just put random TikTok videos up going, I noticed this to nobody else. And it's just like, about 18 million people noticed it before you did, mate.
I've seen people make those TikToks. I'm like, I know why you do it. But at the same time, you're an idiot.
But yeah, just everyone falls in the trap of then not commenting, don't they? So it's just like you're doing it for the views and to stir the controversy and get the interaction, but you don't do it because it's fucking annoying.
I saw there's a YouTuber I saw. He always says something wrong or doesn't sync up his subtitles correctly deliberately, so people will comment.
Yeah. All the little tricks of the trade, which, to be fair, we're far too honourable for such deception, obviously.
No.
So that's the end of obviously this episode. Any big predictions going into the final episodes? I mean, I know one of my predictions that we talked about in our previous episode was spot on from the start, which was Guy being a double agent. I'm going to put that in a win column for myself. Now that you've seen a few episodes, anything else for the rest of it?
My prediction, well, one thing for everyone who's listening to this podcast is do not, obviously if you've come this far, do not sleep on this TV show.
Oh,
it is gripping. The writing for it is fantastic. My prediction would be we definitely get old Nick back. That's old Nick back. Gravik will die, but there will still be Super Skrulls out there, and it will become a thing where Nick Fury needs to go track them down, and that's what he'll do in the background.
I think that's a good shout, to be fair.
Why we don't see him much maybe coming forward, which we are, after the Marvels.
Yeah. I don't think he's something that's going to go out. Do you expect him to maybe make an appearance in maybe Thunderbolts?
Yes, I would expect he would pop up in either Cap or Thunderbolts.
Fair enough. I mean, I've got two theories of potential people that could be Skrulls, which have come out of my discussion from last week and a few of the bits I've seen. So I want to get your opinion on these. As a random third-party Skrull, maybe from this Emperor Droge's colony of Sonya Fallsworth potentially being a Skrull. When she was interrogating the guy last week, she seemed to know potentially about the fact that they had this machine. She just wanted to know the scientists behind it.
Yes.
So she could be maybe a third-party Skrull.
I could see that. I could see that happening. Yes.
And Valentina, the woman who's like head of the CIA, who was Everett Ross's wife, because she's the one putting this team together to get a superpowered team. Potentially, if she could get this team together, she can get their DNA and to give more stuff to the Skrulls. Potentially, apparently, some of the guys last week said they think that she could show up towards the end, or be shown to be a Skrull, that one of the Skrulls in charge. Because if they're getting into positions like being the president and the Prime Minister of Great Britain, or in charge of NATO,
what
why
are you
not
talking
go for
about?
the head of the CIA?
McGavin.
Yeah.
It's just Stu McGavin.
Literally what I said last week. I named all the other characters and just went, shoot McGavin.
Yeah. Shooter. Play with the ball eyes. Yeah, she could be a Skrull. This is the thing is, there's rumors, but there's no concrete of who and why this Thunderbolts team is being put together and who they're versing.
I mean, there's been a rumor of who the bad person is going to be, or the villain's going to be, isn't it? Which was Sentry.
Sentry,
which is basically Marvel's version of Superman.
Yes, but there's no concrete. There's been no announcement and no concrete of moving forward onto that. So, and that's the thing is, she's been building this team ever since Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So, you're right. She could either be preparing for Sentry, or she's building this obviously anti-Avengers to fight Skrulls. Because maybe she's not a Skrull, but she's aware of everything that's happening.
Well, I think that's probably likely, isn't it? She seems to have a bit more knowledge of what's going on than the average CIA agent or spy agent. So,
well, she's meant to be the new Nick Fury, but evil Nick Fury.
Yeah, bad Nick Fury.
Yeah, but yeah. Oh, I did see one. What was the other one I saw? Was I forgot her name. The Wakandian. She's a Skrull. Koye is a Skrull. Because she breaks out.
Everett Ross. Yeah,
Everett Ross.
It was the theory I put on last week's episode where I said, that scene at the end of Wakanda Forever where she turns up and breaks Ross out. She's actually a Skrull and she breaks Ross out, and that's how they're managing to copy him for the start of the first episode. They've got him somewhere.
Which I do hope Ross comes back. I feel like that was kind of a waste in the first episode.
It was just a throwaway one to start to make you go, anyone could be a Skrull. Because Maria Hill believed it was the Everett Ross, didn't she? So I guess it was just that thing to put in there to go, anyone could be one. But I mean, I expect to see Everett Ross back in Thunderbolts, to be fair.
Yeah, I expect Cap as well.
It's a good shout. Yeah, because I can't wait to see.
If Valentine's going to be in it, I could see Ross because that's his wife or ex-wife.
Absolutely. And he's basically a criminal on the run now since he got broken out by Okoye. So because he was transported to prison essentially, wasn't he? So I think we'll see him in those films. To be fair, yeah.
But no, this show is shaping up really good, and I hope the final of it, which we will obviously discuss, so it'll be very interesting to look back on this episode of our predictions. But for this to end, which I think we did mention this last week, is that this ends, and then this leads into Loki season 2, and then after Loki season 2, we get Ahsoka.
Ahsoka's first. Sorry, yeah. Ahsoka starts 23rd of August.
Oh yeah, sorry, Ahsoka, and then we get Loki, and then we get the Marvels and Echo.
Yeah,
and it's just bang, 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 bang.
It's a heavy schedule for the rest of the year. Because we've got this obviously for a few more weeks. I think I've got my August schedule. I've got posted in a couple of episodes to review, like Witcher Part 1 and Witcher Part 2. Then we've got Blue Beetle. And then we run into Ahsoka. I think even Blue Beetle maybe comes out towards the end of the month, so it's going to be sort of similar time to when Ahsoka started. And then I think there's two episodes of Loki that cross over with Ahsoka. And I think actually, I think I said it last week in my schedule that there's 1 week which I think is the finale episode of Ahsoka, but I've got an episode planned out where it's the finale of Ahsoka, episode 2 of Loki, and Kraven the Hunter, all booked in to be discussed in the same episode. And then
that's right,
madness.
I know. I agree with you. I've actually looking at that. I've actually gone to the point where I probably will make a completely separate episode just for Kraven the Hunter, because I'm like, that's going to be so much to cover.
Yeah, I did think about maybe I was trying to be a little bit ambitious by putting all three into one episode and doing maybe a 4-hour podcast for that week. But yeah, we've got, bearing in mind, we've not had a lot for the early part of this year in terms of the stuff that we cover from
Nah,
Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and then it's
nah.
really ramping up into a really busy schedule because, like, so we've still
Yeah.
got Blue Beetle to come. We go into Loki, Craven the Hunter. Like you
and
said, we've got the Marvels, we've got Echo that drops all at once.
yeah,
And
and
then even in December we've got Aquaman 2 and we've got Rebel Moon that's coming out.
yes, Ghostbusters 5.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters 4,
I
sorry.
completely keep forgetting about that. To be fair,
Yeah, which I think is meant to be Ghostbusters International. I think they
Hmm.
do a worldwide because I'm from what I've read, I think that because of Winston's money, he restarts the Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
but makes it into like Ghostbusters International.
Well, that was the hint, wasn't it? Because he's walked back into the firehouse at the end of the last film, and he's looking around, and he's like, "I'm going to redo this place."
Yeah. But there's also, which I can't remember, I think it comes out this year. What was it? It's not Wreck-It Ralph. Wrecking Crew.
Wrecking
I
Crew.
think Wrecking Crew is meant to come out this year.
Wrecking Crew? Do you mean Skeleton Crew?
Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew. I'm thinking of the Marvel team.
Yeah. But yeah, that's supposed to be coming out, I think, this year, and because we've had no promotion for that whatsoever.
No. Yeah, so
There's
right now it
like,
just has 2023.
so yeah, I think that was penciled in for December, if I remember correctly, from Celebration. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Skeleton.
so I mean, we've got a pretty. We're going to be treated to a lot of stuff. Let's say we're maybe slightly being a bit harsh, going, well, it's going to have packed schedule for us, but this is what I love, and this is what I want to be watching, all these things, and this is what I want to be chatting about. So I'm super psyched to do it. I don't care how busy it makes me in terms of my podcast schedule. I'm going to be excited to see it. I mean, the only one that's constantly maybe talked about in terms of going to be a bit rough is maybe Echo, because it drops all at once. And is it
Yes.
a mad
Oh,
dash to watch it all? Is it going to be a mad dash to review it all?
I think it depends because it's gonna be around about that same time as Aquaman, Ghostbusters, and Rebel Moon, which Rebel Moon is meant to be Zack Snyder's Star
Star
Wars.
Wars film, yeah.
But you're right. Like as I said, like this is what makes this so much fun podcasting and having these conversations and getting on guest starring in everyone's
Mm.
podcast because I've got you penciled in because I think you're coming on for the first episode of Ahsoka.
Yeah, I think we've got that penciled in, yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of Echo, and we know there's going to be a certain character appearing that a little known character in Marvel called Daredevil. I don't think many people know about him, to be fair. He's
he's a
a very,
niche.
very slept on character. He's only a small group of people really know about him or like him.
Yeah.
So,
He's
but
he's an intense version of Santa.
to be fair, and
Yeah.
apparently he's getting his own show, just a random 18 episodes.
Yeah.
Nothing too big. With only Kingpin and the Punisher apparently appearing in it as well, but who knows who they are. But speaking of this character, the Netflix show of Daredevil, and obviously its intertwining world of characters as well. Something we talked about before we started recording, and I said I wanted to bring it up because tell us your experience with watching Daredevil as a Netflix show, because you said that you kind of slept on it for a while and didn't really get round to it for a while.
No, that's right. So when Daredevil first dropped, I think I watched the first episode and then I didn't follow on. I didn't keep watching it. And then when She-Hulk was about to launch, I thought, oh well, this would be a perfect time to go back and watch it all because it's all on Disney Plus. So I thought, well, I've really got no excuse. So and I binge watched the 3 seasons, and I was like, holy shit, why did I sleep on this? This is so good. Which anyone, you need to watch this before going into Daredevil Born Again. I know there's a lot of people out there that are really worried about Born Again, going, oh, it won't be good as the Netflix version. It's gonna be Disney-fied. But my argument to you is Kevin Feige, at the end of the day, is a fan just like all of us. So I have complete faith what he will do. He would not greenlight an 18 episode season of Daredevil if it didn't have something teeth, or he knew that this was going to be something that fans were going to love.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, not to mention, if we continue this trend, then I'm guessing Daredevil will be the same vein as WandaVision, Moon Knight, and Secret Invasion. It's appealing to us, like it's appealing to us, age of Marvel fans, opposed to Miss Marvel.
Yeah. But the Netflix shows, to me, are some of the greatest superhero content out there. Full stop. Of pick a franchise, whatever you want. To me, this is head and shoulders up at the top. And I know a lot of people.
The opening alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that they have these, the hallway scenes, that they have sort of one a series where it's one long continuous shot.
So good.
And you can see behind it in some of the behind the scenes stuff, the way that they do it, and the way that they planned it out, and then the way that they just do this one long continuous hallway shot. And even in like series 2, I think, where he goes down, goes through the building, down the stairs, and through a lift and stuff like that. So it's like not even just sticking to one hallway; it's going through a whole damn building in one continuous shot.
Yeah.
And so these, it's not just the actors that have put their, and the stunt people that put their heart and souls into it, the writers, the producers, the way that they've thought about it, and the way that they've gone, right, we're going to do these groundbreaking things, makes this show sort of top of the pile of so many people's lists of superhero shows.
Yeah, because it does so good. And obviously, Charlie Cox?
Yeah.
He does a fantastic job as Daredevil. And I feel bad for him because he did lose I think he lost a role because I think he went to go audition for a Star Wars role, but he lost because he wasn't looking at the actor. He was looking past him.
Yeah, I remember you said that, yeah.
Yeah, because he's played Daredevil for so long, and he does a fantastic job. Vincent D'Onofrio does a fantastic as Kingpin. The rest of the cast does great. And I love the fact that, yes, he is in She-Hulk, but we still got a really good, intense hallway scene in that too. And it was dark. Yeah. And you're like, this is still the same Daredevil.
And obviously he got his little cameo in No Way Home as well, which to me was just, it was one of the gasps that came out of the cinema.
Yeah, as soon as he puts the cane down.
Yeah. Because I did that. As soon as I saw the cane, I was like, oh my God. And I think the woman in front of me almost had an orgasm from the sounds that came out of her mouth. It's what it sounded like. So just, the love of seeing a character brought into the MCU that, this whole back and forth on whether the Netflix shows are canon or not. It's still not really resolved. I hear some people go, well, you heard them mention the Battle of New York, and they talk about the Raft and the Hulk. I'm like, these things are never mentioned apart from the Raft. But the Battle of New York is just called the incident, and they talk about the big green guy to avoid these things. And this is, whilst it was on Netflix, I was told it was always counted as like an alternate timeline universe where those events still happened, but it's not the main MCU universe. So, we're going to get some clarity, I think, of whether this is canon or not when this series comes around.
It does. I'm guessing. I don't fully. I know. I think Kevin Feige says that it's going to be one of those things where it has legit happened. It is part of him, which eliminates you having to go back and go, oh, he was a kid. He, acid went onto his eyes. His dad was a boxer. Like, they can just start Daredevil Born Again. Go.
Yeah.
Like, this is happening. His story. His semi-background.
They're probably like what they did with Spider-Man.
Yeah. So, and I think probably the only thing they really have to touch on is what's happened to, Foggy and...
Yeah. If it is a continuation, then they need to obviously say what's going on with that. I think one of the things why they talk about maybe it isn't going to be canon, or the Netflix series isn't, was because we've already had a little bit of Kingpin in Hawkeye. And apparently this is not supposedly the same Kingpin from those series, because this is more of almost a comic book Kingpin that we saw in Hawkeye, because he's got
he
this sort
looks
of
a
like
lot more
elevated strength. He's
imposing
a
in
bit more,
Hawkeye.
the butch and the way that he looks and stuff.
Yeah. But again, I think it's one of those things like his story. You don't
Yeah.
Again, you don't need to do the background. So yeah, I think it'll be loosely connected.
And I'm super happy because we're getting John Berthel back as the Punisher as well, which season 2 is my favourite of the Netflix Daredevil series out of 1 to 3, because I think the split storyline between the Hand and the Punisher works really well together. But the Punisher, is, everyone who listens to the show will know by now, is pretty much one of my top Marvel favourites in terms of character. So to get John Berthel's version back, and I think he did a tremendous job in Daredevil and in his own couple of series that he did as well. Can't wait for that. There's obviously been rumours as well that Jessica Jones is coming back, played by the same actress as well as Luke Cage.
Yes,
and probably not. Danny Rand's Iron Fist is probably not going to make an appearance, from what we've been told.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. But I do like the whole idea that because I think it's meant to be the fact that he was blipped, so he has to go back to New York and fix everything. Because
Kingpin wasn't blipped, and he's
taken over his city again. But what I'm just going to love is the fact that he's going to, as me as a fan, he's going to know who Spider-Man is. He's going to know. You're going to be able to say it. He's going to know, the plaque in New York about the Avengers. Like, he's going to be able to talk all about that willingly.
Yeah, I think that's going to be good to have that level of interaction now with the rest of the MCU.
Yeah, it's like, I've known Spider-Man the whole time.
Yeah. Although he obviously doesn't know he's Peter Parker anymore.
No.
But no one on Earth apparently does, so
no.
They just know Spider-Man.
Hey, does Star-Lord though?
Well, this is what I've always said, actually, to be fair, is that because the whole spell was everyone on Earth. So anyone who was off Earth at that time would still know, or should still know, that he's Peter Parker. So I would include I was going to say I would include the Hulk, but obviously maybe he was on Earth at that moment, because we don't know where the She-Hulk bit where he disappears off Earth at the start of the series, how long that goes on for. Is he off the planet at that particular time? Because we know in the comics, when a similar thing happened in terms of Peter Parker had everyone's memory wiped, the Hulk himself, even though he was on Earth, remembered that Spider-Man was Peter Parker. And he's like, Hulk will remember, but Banner doesn't, sort of thing. So maybe with Smart Hulk, maybe he's got a way around it, potentially, because he just gets his brain repaired. But
maybe.
I anticipate there are people who aren't on Earth should still know that who this kid is, and that he's Spider-Man.
The legendary Star-Lord.
Yeah. Who will return, apparently.
Where?
But I mean, in terms of the rest of the Netflix series, then, that Daredevil is clearing away the top one out of all of those in terms of the quality of it. But where do you rate like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Punisher, Iron Fist?
I didn't watch the Iron Fist TV show. I only watched. I watched the first 2 seasons of Jessica Jones. I've only watched the first season of The Punisher. I tried watching the first couple episodes of season 2, but it just didn't grab me as much as the first season did.
Dare you not watch The Punisher?
Because that first season of The Punisher is brutal.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
But I think Daredevil's one of those shows that you need to watch. Even if you watch it just in its little bubble that it will be in. But Daredevil, for me, Punisher, Jessica Jones, then everything else.
Did you watch the Defenders crossover series that they did?
No, I didn't hear too many good things about it. It's
a weird thing, because a lot of people were down on that series. It definitely could have been a bit better. But I mean, I think I'm always that weird one. I'm quite critical of a lot of things and a lot of shows and films that I watch. And then I found myself, like, whilst I know that some of the rest of the stuff in terms of, like, some parts of Luke Cage and later bits of Jessica Jones and Iron Fist aren't the greatest, I still actually love them because of their connected sort of bit to each other. And therefore, while Defenders was only 6 episodes long, it definitely could have been better. I've watched it quite a few times, and I actually come to really love the Defenders series.
Really?
Because it takes a while to get them together as well. I think it's literally like, it takes, I think, almost 3 episodes to actually get them all together as a team. But once you do, it's amazing, and I really love the Defenders series. I think it's worth giving it a watch. To be fair, especially because it's like their mini, it's the mini New York Avengers, street level Avengers,
mini New York Avengers, street level Avengers,
street level Avengers. To be fair, so and the interactions, especially like the interactions between Jessica Jones and Matt Murdock, are fantastic.
Well, Jessica Jones' first season with Kilgrave is so
amazing.
good.
Amazing. Anyone that's, like you said at the start, anyone who's not watched any of these series, I recommend you go out and watch them all. One, just to understand who if these characters are brought into Daredevil, understand who they are and where they sort of come from, because they're likely to be done by the same actors, with the exception of maybe Iron Fist, as we've said. But at the same time, like you said, series 1 of Jessica Jones pushes almost as good as the rest of Daredevil. So. Kilgrave's played by David Tennant, obviously Doctor Who.
So good.
He does such a good job of that show. And I just wanted to talk about the Netflix series because obviously Daredevil's on everyone's sort of lips at the moment in terms of.
But it's still not coming out until 2025.
Which we get Echo with him in, so.
Yes, apparently Kingpin and
Kingpin's in it
Charlie
as well,
Cox are in that. Yeah.
So a little dose of him. I think he's going to be popping up here and there in little, because that was the rumor that he's going to be popping up in a few different projects here and there along the way before we get his series. So
yes, that's right. And look, I know a lot of people are giving shit about Echo, but I'm like, after Hawkeye, when I knew she was getting a show, I'm like, okay, I'm down. After Hawkeye, I was like, I'm down, happy to watch it, especially if Kingpin and Daredevil are in it, even if it's not for like, every single episode. Just popping around, I'm still down for her because she kicked ass. She was awesome.
Although I'm sure you've probably seen the rumours over the last week or so that apparently it's coming out that Marvel aren't particularly happy with the series.
Yes, and apparently reshoots and everything. Yeah. And apparently I saw something that was like they debated whether or not to write it off, like what happened with the Batgirl. But at the same time, I have faith in Marvel, and whatever comes out, even though it will still be better than The Flash.
And I'm going to pick a bone with you about that in a second. Now you mentioned it, I think this is why as well they may be doing this thing of dropping all the Echo episodes at once, because if they've had to do some reshoots and maybe they're not as keen on it as some of the rest of their stuff, they're just like, bang, here it is, we've done it, we want you to watch it because we think it's okay, and it's got these other characters in it as well. So just let it go and be out there, and then it's over and done with. They probably won't do much of that after that.
No, and one thing the reason I didn't think that it was going to be shit, I predicted the reason why it's getting dropped all in one go was because of all the delays. That's why I presumed. I was like, okay, Secret Invasion got pushed back, Loki got pushed back. There isn't enough time in the year, so let's just do a massive drop.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a good enough reason, to be fair. And we are just going to finish the episode off with my bone to pick with you about The Flash.
Yeah.
When we had our preview show, obviously you got to go to an early screening of it, and you told me that it lived up to the hype. I also listened to your own episode of the podcast where you obviously chatted about it after you've been to that early screening, and you hyped it up again on your show. And I think you were telling a little porky pie about how good this particular film was.
What? Do you live up to your hype?
No, not to my level. People calling it one of the greatest superhero films of all time, that it's going to be rated up there, was a big fat lie for sure. Yes, there were good points about this film. You said it lived up to the hype, though. So that was my bone to pick. Anyone who knows me as well knows that I'm a huge fan of the Flash, the Flashpoint storyline, whether it's the animated film or the comic series. And so I think I did say when I reviewed it with Michael from Stark Wars that maybe it's a rare occasion where my own prejudice and love for the animated film and the comic book story clouded a little bit about how I felt about this particular film, because
Yeah.
it was Flashpoint, but it was a weak Flashpoint for me.
It, taking that, like, you're right, taking it from that movie, it is really weak. That's the thing, is what I liked about it was that we got all the cameos. It felt so much more DCEU than what the last projects have been. Am I totally shocked about the box office? Yes.
A little bit, yeah, I am as well, yeah.
Because I thought, Michael Keaton, Supergirl, I thought that would really move the needle, but nah. But you're right. The end cameos was nothing to really stay for.
Oh God, yeah, that post-credit scene was just not worth it.
Yeah, I was like, no.
I mean, yeah, I don't think Ezra Miller's portrayal of this particular, or the way that this particular Barry Allen was written for this film was my kind of Barry Allen. Very glib about being a superhero, doesn't seem to particularly care that much. He's like, oh, I'm just an afterthought for the Justice League sort of attitude, and that's not the Barry Allen I know and the Barry Allen that I like. He's a bit of a wet drip anyway in general, Barry Allen.
Yeah.
But he wants to save people, he wants to help people, and this attitude, the way he was written in this film, kind of sucked a little bit to me. So
yeah, I think, like, as I said in my episode, is that there is a massive what if that will carry over this movie. For example, what if what the original was going to be? We were meant to get Cyborg, we were meant to get more Ben Affleck, we were meant to get Thomas Wayne, and we were meant to get all that, but they've had to change it so many times, a loss of directors. Obviously, no Cyborg. So, and then
it could have been tremendous.
Well, that's right. It could have been tremendous. And even to the final letter, it still got changed, because there was meant to be either Michael Keaton and Supergirl at the end, or Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
So
instead we got George Clooney.
Woo! Yay!
But anyway, like, let's move on from the Flash. That was one's going to be one not for the history books. Let's be fair.
No, and look, it has a lot of merit. Like, I can understand why people were really hyped about this and what the good reviews came from it. That greatest comic movie, no, it says greatest. That is reserved for the Dark Knight and Avengers Endgame or Infinity War, how you want to debate it. But unfortunately, because of everything around it, will weigh it down.
Yeah, that's true. It had a lot of weight on its shoulders going into it, to be fair, which probably didn't help. I think I gave it a 6.5 out of 10 overall. Definitely, there were some good points about it, but as a Flashpoint fan, it wasn't the Flashpoint I was hoping for. So
no, and like as I said to you, as I think I said to you last time, you watch that anime movie and you're like, why couldn't we have this?
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're always going to have bits about superhero films drawn from comic books that we're going to be disappointed about, aren't we? So it's we've just got to sit there and just enjoy what we do get from it and enjoy the good points about it without being over crucifying it. I think is the best way to do it, isn't it?
I don't know if we over crucify it. That's our job. So that's what we do.
Well, in a way, if it deserves it, if it's an absolute dumpster fire, believe me, I'm not going to hold back on it. But I think, like I said, I think it was just my own prejudice of how much I like the Flashpoint story from the comics and the animated film. Impacted my enjoyment of this one, and it's the first time I think in a long time I've let that prejudice affect how much I've liked a comic book movie because of that.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, what was Andy, the director's like, the CGI looks terrible because it's through Flash's eyes. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It looks awful because it is awful.
Yeah.
And I saw this on this TikTok. It was terrible. When he takes the baby out of the microwave? I saw someone reverse that. And she's screaming and he's like smiling and then puts the baby in the microwave. I'm like, oh my God, that's going to haunt him forever.
Oh, that's brilliant, to be fair.
I was like, oh my God.
But Leigh, you have been amazing to jump on at short notice this week, and you have no idea how much I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome, man.
We're going to see you again. I saw you like 6 weeks ago. I'm going to see you again in 3 weeks' time to
Sounds good.
wrap up this series and see whether we were spot on with our thoughts and what amazing people have been revealed to be Skrulls. So tell everyone at home exactly where we can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the fun socials, and wherever you get your local podcasts. Lights, Camera, Rant.
And you go live with your episodes every Sunday?
Yes, I go live with the episodes on Sunday, and then we drop the episode on the following Tuesday. And I always welcome anyone to come and join us on Sunday and start a conversation, which we talk about everything you talk about: Secret Invasion, Indiana Jones, ranting and raving. But yeah, I definitely recommend to come past and chat.
And you've recently jumped onto Kick as well, is it?
Yes, I thought. Well, I saw that that seemed to be getting a lot of popularity at the moment. It is another version of Twitch, and the reason why that, but however, you can get monetized on Kick a lot quicker, which a lot of people are liking a lot more. The website and the app does need a little bit of TLC, but as we've seen, a lot of major people are jumping over to Kick itself. So I thought I'd start streaming on there, and I'm slowly working my way to try and stream on LinkedIn.
Are you jumping onto Threads?
Yes. Are you threading? Is that what? Are you threading?
I'm threading the needle of my podcast on there. I'm not on there myself. I'm still going to look into it before I jump on there, because apparently it's all weird, because it's obviously done by Instagram and Meta, and I've just heard a few weird things about it. You have to sign into it through Instagram, and if you delete your Threads account, it automatically deletes your Instagram account as well. So I'm going to look into it a little bit more before I venture on there. But yeah, I'm still getting myself worked through like YouTube and a few other bits and pieces. So I won't jump onto Thread straight away.
I did, and it's become a good thing and a bad thing, because best thing is that because it is linked in with Instagram, you don't have to go, oh, come follow me. It automatically does it for you, which is brilliant. Nice. However, ever since I've done it, because people are slowly coming into the platform, I've got nothing but thread notifications for the last 72 hours, which I'm great. Yes, please follow. Yes, 100%. But because everyone's slowly coming onto the platform and everyone's clicking that automatic follow, it's just having that follow-on effect. And I've already seen that Twitter's going to sue Meta for it and blah, blah. But
fun times.
Using it, for the brief time that it has been out, it's been very clean. Like to comment on people and to talk, it's been really easy. Will it fully take over Twitter? No, but I think I did see Mr. Beast already clocked over to 1 million followers in less than 48 hours. But again, it's just another platform to try and get your word out and try and chat.
How nice it would be to have a million followers, eh?
No, 1 million monetized followers.
Well, even better, eh?
Yeah, that's the dream, man. That's the dream.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to be back next week to discuss, obviously, episode 4 of Secret Invasion. I've got the guys from Earth 894 podcast coming on.
They are a great bunch of guys, and I've actually got them coming on for my last episode of Secret Invasion.
Nice. I am really looking forward to getting them on next week. I'm a big fan of theirs, so that's what I'll be doing. Yeah. So everyone, come back next week. Make sure, obviously, go and see Leigh's stuff. Obviously, all of his social media will be linked into the episode description. Go and give him a follow, listen to his episodes, watch his live streams as well, and obviously come and follow me on Twitch as well, because I'm trying to do a couple of nights a week on there, just generally some Star Wars stuff.
Do it. Follow him.
I've been a bit lazy this week. I haven't streamed at all because I've been tired after starting my new job. and also getting engaged as well. I got engaged last week.
Woo!
So I have not told anyone on the podcast world really yet. So I haven't put a
I'm glad
notification
it's
up or
first.
anything on. I haven't put a notification up or anything like that on the online, which I might do now. I've said it on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be back next week. Give Leigh a follow, and until then, take care.
See you guys.